The Galactic Empire's flagship loomed in the endless black of space, a symbol of unmatched power and dominance. It was a colossal ship, its metal surface reflecting the distant stars. Within its command room, the atmosphere was tense, and the silence was deafening. A massive hologram of Earth flickered in the center of the room, showing the small blue planet in the far corner of the galaxy. The Emperor stood at the helm, his eyes cold and calculating, staring at the hologram as if contemplating something far beyond what anyone in the room could understand. The Galactic Empire had set its sights on Earth, a primitive world tucked away in a forgotten part of the universe. For centuries, Earth had been nothing more than an insignificant speck, an unimportant backwater planet with no real value. But that was about to change. The Emperor had plans to make Earth the center of his new galactic order. His spies had scored the planet for its hidden resources, for the secrets it might hold, but they had found nothing. Or so they thought. The doors to the command room suddenly hissed open, breaking the heavy silence. A human stepped inside, dressed in a simple, yet striking military uniform. His posture was stiff, his face set in a determined expression. He was an envoy, sent by the people of Earth to deliver a message to the Emperor himself. The room fell silent once again. All eyes were on the human, who stood tall and unwavering in the presence of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Emperor regarded him with interest, though there was a flicker of something deeper in his gaze, something that could have been irritation, or perhaps even curiosity. The human took a slow step forward, his eyes meeting the Emperor's with a quiet defiance. "Your Majesty," the human said, his voice calm but carrying a weight that seemed to fill the room. "I come with a message from Earth, and I suggest you listen carefully." The Emperor raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the human's boldness. His generals and advisors exchanged uncertain glances. No one had ever dared to speak to the Emperor in such a way. The human continued, his tone unyielding. "Earth is no longer up for grabs," the human said, his words echoing through the silent room. "We are not some helpless planet for you to conquer. You can't touch Earth. Not now. Not ever." A murmur ran through the room, the generals and advisors not knowing whether to laugh or take the threat seriously. The Emperor's lips curled into a tight smile, but it was a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Is that so?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. The human stood firm, not backing down. "Yes, Earth is under the protection of its people, and we will do whatever it takes to keep it that way. If you attempt to harm Earth in any way, you will regret it. We've already warned you. If you think you can just sweep in and take what you want, you will find yourself facing a force you can't understand." The Emperor's smile faded. He stepped forward, his imposing figure towering over the human. "And what exactly do you think you can do to stop us?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You are a primitive race, no different from the other countless civilizations we've destroyed. Do you really think you stand a chance?" The human's gaze never wavered. "You don't understand, do you?" he asked quietly. "We've been preparing for this. You're not dealing with a defenseless species anymore. Earth has secrets, secrets that could destroy everything you've built. If you attack us, you will unleash a force you cannot control." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. This wasn't what he had expected. His empire was vast, stretching across thousands of planets, with fleets of warships and legions of soldiers. He had crushed entire civilizations in the past with little more than a thought. But Earth was different. The human's words sent a ripple of doubt through him, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. Uncertainty. He waved a hand, dismissing the human's words. "Enough of your threats. You'll learn soon enough that we don't take orders from primitive species. The Galactic Empire will take Earth, whether you like it or not." The human shook his head, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "You don't understand," he said softly. "You think you can just march into Earth's territory like you've done with countless others. But Earth is different. You've underestimated us for too long. And if you keep going down this path, you'll find out just how wrong you are." The human turned and walked toward the door, leaving the Emperor and his generals in stunned silence. As the door closed behind him, the room was filled with a heavy, unnerving silence. The Emperor stared at the spot where the human had stood, a flicker of doubt crossing his mind. He turned to his generals, his voice cold and calculating. "Prepare the fleet. We move on Earth immediately." One of the generals hesitated, stepping forward. "My Emperor, might it be wise to reconsider? What if this human's warnings are true? What if Earth truly holds something more than we know?" The Emperor's gaze hardened. "We will deal with whatever comes our way. The Empire does not back down from threats, no matter how insignificant they may seem." But even as the Emperor spoke, a strange feeling lingered in the air, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. The human had left a mark on the Emperor's mind, a seed of doubt that could not easily be erased. He didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation, but something told him that Earth was not the weak, helpless planet he had thought it to be. The Empire was about to make a mistake that could cost them everything. The vast expanse of space was quiet, eerily still. The Galactic Empire's flagship, now in full motion, sailed across the stars toward Earth. Its massive engines hummed with power, while inside the command room, the air was thick with tension. The Emperor, seated on his high throne, gazed at the holographic map of the galaxy before him. His eyes traced the trajectory of the fleet as it drew closer to Earth, yet his thoughts were elsewhere. The human's warning echoed in his mind. It was an unusual thing, a warning from a species that had been nothing more than an afterthought until now. He couldn't shake the strange feeling that Earth was not just another insignificant planet to be conquered. At his side, his most trusted general, Tarek, stood with his arms folded, a stern expression on his face. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice low and serious. "The fleet is ready. We can engage Earth's defenses within the hour. It will be swift, as always." The Emperor turned to look at him, his eyes narrowing. "Are you sure about that, General? What if there's something we've missed? That human's warning wasn't just empty threats. He said Earth has secrets, something that could destroy everything we've built." Tarek raised an eyebrow. "My Emperor, we have crushed civilizations far older and stronger than Earth's. The so-called secrets of this planet are nothing more than fantasy. We are the Galactic Empire. There is no force that can stop us." The Emperor's gaze hardened. "That's what we thought before the Drakari Rebellion. That's what we thought before the Tyraxian Uprising. And now, this human." He paused, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the arm of his throne. "I want to know everything about Earth, and I mean everything. Find the truth behind their warning. I don't care if it means sending out every ship in our fleet. I need to know what we're facing." Tarek hesitated for a moment before bowing. "As you command, Emperor." The Emperor's mind raced. He had ruled the galaxy for centuries, building an empire so vast and powerful that it seemed untouchable. But something about this small, insignificant planet had unsettled him. Humans were supposed to be primitive, easy to control, easily crushed. And yet, they had made a threat to the greatest power in the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was very different. The leaders of the planet had gathered in a heavily fortified underground command center. Deep below the surface, hidden from satellites and the prying eyes of the Empire's spies, Dr. Elena Carter stood before a bank of terminals. She had spent days, even weeks, reviewing the encrypted logs, the alien artifacts, the ancient technologies that Earth had kept hidden for centuries. Her fingers flew across the holographic screens, decrypting files and cross-referencing information. The hum of the machines filled the room, a sound that felt almost too calm for the situation. Earth had received a warning from the Emperor himself. But that wasn't all. There was something far more important buried in Earth's history, something ancient, something that no one had ever fully understood. It was a secret so powerful that it could either save Earth from destruction or lead to its downfall. Dr. Carter turned to the small group of scientists and military leaders gathered around the table. "I found something," she said, her voice tense. "The Empire's first contact with Earth wasn't as simple as we thought. We were never just a primitive species in their eyes." One of the generals, Colonel Richard Blackwood, leaned forward. "What are you saying? Are you telling me that Earth has some kind of weapon we don't know about?" Dr. Carter hesitated, glancing at the data in front of her. "It's more than just a weapon. It's a technology. A technology given to us by the first alien race to ever make contact with Earth. The same race that helped our ancestors thousands of years ago, before they vanished." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "But there's a catch. This technology, it's not just for defense. It's for offense. If the Empire tries to invade Earth, they'll activate something far worse than they could imagine." The room fell silent. The generals exchanged uneasy glances, and Dr. Carter could see the fear in their eyes. This wasn't just a warning. It was a promise. Earth had something the Empire couldn't even begin to comprehend. Something so dangerous that it would change the course of the galaxy forever. Dr. Carter continued, her voice low and steady. "We've been preparing for this moment for years. The Galactic Empire doesn't understand Earth, and they never will. We've been hiding in plain sight, learning from the past, and now we have the means to fight back." Colonel Blackwood's voice cut through the tension. "What are we waiting for, then? If we have this weapon, let's use it. Earth's survival depends on it." Dr. Carter shook her head. "We can't just unleash it without knowing the consequences. There's more to this than anyone realizes. The technology the Empire is seeking is alive. It's not a machine or a weapon that can simply be activated. It's something sentient, and if we trigger it without understanding how it works, we could destroy everything, not just the Empire, but the entire galaxy." Her words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Earth was standing on the precipice of something massive. The humans had been preparing for this battle in the shadows for years, but even they didn't fully understand the full scope of what they were about to unleash. Meanwhile, far away, the Empire's fleet continued its journey toward Earth, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface of that tiny, insignificant planet. The Empire thought it could crush Earth like so many other worlds. It had underestimated the humans for too long. As the fleet neared Earth's orbit, the Emperor stared at the holographic projection of the planet once again, his mind filled with doubts he couldn't quite shake. "We'll find out soon enough," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "What makes Earth so special?" The countdown to the inevitable clash between the Galactic Empire and Earth had begun, and neither side fully understood the true power that lay ahead. But one thing was certain: Earth would not go down without a fight, and the Empire would soon learn that some secrets are best left untouched. The Galactic Empire's fleet cruised through the stars, an unstoppable force headed straight for Earth. The sheer size of the warships, with their glistening hulls and massive guns, was an intimidating sight. The flagship, at the front of the formation, was as imposing as it was menacing. The Emperor, now fully determined to claim Earth, sat in his command chair, watching the blue planet grow larger on the holographic display before him. The war was coming. His fleet was powerful enough to decimate the planet's meager defenses, and no one, not even the humans, could stand in their way. But despite his confidence, a sense of unease still gnawed at the Emperor. The human envoy's words haunted him. Earth has secrets. The warning had been strange. Who were these humans to threaten the might of the Empire? How could they possibly possess something that could challenge his military supremacy? Tarek, his most trusted general, stood beside him, awaiting orders. "Your Majesty," he said, "we're approaching Earth. The fleets are in position, and the final phase of the invasion is ready to commence. Shall we give the order?" The Emperor turned to him, his face hard and unreadable. "Not yet," he replied, his voice laced with a trace of doubt. "I want to know more. There's something about this planet. Something different." He looked toward the projection of Earth again, studying it with a growing sense of curiosity. Back on Earth, the situation had reached a boiling point. Dr. Elena Carter and her team had uncovered something that could change the course of the conflict. Hidden deep within ancient ruins scattered across the planet, they had found something, an artifact. It wasn't just a weapon, nor was it just a piece of alien technology. It was something far older, far more dangerous. This artifact, which they had only recently activated, was a key to an ancient power, one that could reshape the galaxy. Dr. Carter sat in front of the glowing artifact in a secure underground lab, her face pale as the holographic display projected the data she had painstakingly pieced together. "This is it," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else in the room. "This is what the Empire has been looking for all along, and they have no idea how deadly it is." Colonel Richard Blackwood stood beside her, his arms crossed as he watched the screen with growing unease. "You're telling me that this thing could destroy the Empire?" he asked. Dr. Carter nodded slowly. "Not just destroy them. It could wipe out everything they've built. But that's not all. The artifact is part of something much bigger, an ancient alien race that once stood against the Empire. And these beings, whoever they were, left a warning. If the Empire ever returned, they would be stopped." Blackwood didn't speak for a long moment. The implications were staggering. "And we're just sitting on this, waiting." "We need time to understand it," Carter said, her voice firm despite the doubt that clouded her thoughts. "Activating this artifact is dangerous. It's not just some weapon we can control. It's alive, in a way, a force of nature. If we rush into this, we might not survive it." "So what do we do?" Blackwood asked, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "We prepare," Carter said with resolve. "The Empire doesn't know what they're walking into. But we do. If they come for Earth, we need to be ready to unleash everything. We'll defend our planet, not with force alone, but with something far more dangerous." Back aboard the Emperor's flagship, the decision had been made. The fleet was now in position above Earth. The war was about to begin. The Emperor stood, looking down at the vast expanse of space, his hands clasped behind his back. His generals surrounded him, awaiting his command. "Ready the invasion force," the Emperor commanded. "Earth is ours." But as he said the words, something stirred deep within him, a feeling he could not ignore. It wasn't fear, but something close to it, something that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The Emperor turned to Tarek. "I want to know what this artifact is. Send a reconnaissance team down to Earth. Find it." Tarek saluted, eager to carry out the order. "It will be done, Your Majesty." The Emperor turned his gaze back to Earth, but his thoughts were elsewhere. This wasn't just a military operation anymore. This was about control, power. The Empire had to remain the supreme force in the galaxy, no matter the cost. Earth had dared to stand against him. He would crush them, no matter what secrets they were hiding. Meanwhile, Dr. Carter and her team continued their preparations. The countdown to the final battle had begun, and the artifacts they had uncovered, ancient technologies from a long-dead race, were not just tools of war. They were keys to something greater, something beyond anything the Empire had ever seen. The humans had been preparing for this moment for generations. The Empire thought they had Earth figured out. They thought they could steamroll over the planet's defenses like so many others. But the truth was far darker. The humans had not only defended their home, they had something the Empire wanted, and they were prepared to fight for it. The Empire's fleet moved into position, its weapons ready. And Earth, once thought defenseless, was about to reveal a secret that would shatter the Empire's vision of galactic domination forever. As the final moments before the attack approached, Dr. Carter's voice echoed through the secure channels, a message sent across the globe, heard by every leader, every military commander, and every person who knew the stakes of the war. "We don't fight alone anymore," she said, "and we will not surrender." The battle for Earth had begun. The fate of the galaxy would be decided in the next few moments. But what the Emperor didn't realize was that the real war was just beginning. The technology Earth had uncovered was more than just a weapon. It was the key to something far greater. And in the hands of humanity, it could turn the tide in ways no one could predict. The Emperor's fleet was moments away from striking. But what awaited them on Earth was something far worse than they had ever imagined. Something far more terrifying than any weapon the Empire had ever seen. And it was alive. The Emperor's fleet hung in orbit around Earth, a formidable force poised to launch the invasion. The vast ships glinted under the distant light of the sun, their weapons primed and their soldiers eager for conquest. The fleet had everything the Empire needed to crush the planet. Everything. Except one thing. Understanding. They didn't know Earth, and they didn't know the forces they were about to awaken. The Emperor sat in his command chair, his fingers drumming steadily on the armrest. His mind was a battlefield of uncertainty, torn between his belief in the Empire's invincibility and the strange warning the human had delivered. A new tension gripped his thoughts. There was more to Earth than he had anticipated. It wasn't just the small, insignificant planet he thought it was. There was something hidden here, something the humans were protecting. Your Majesty, the fleet is ready for the attack. General Tarek's voice broke the Emperor's reverie. All systems are green. We can begin the invasion whenever you wish. The Emperor looked at him, his eyes calculating. Not yet. I want to make one last attempt to reach Earth's leaders. One final opportunity for them to surrender peacefully. If they don't, then we move forward. Tarek's eyes widened slightly in disbelief. Surrender, Your Majesty. After everything. The Emperor's eyes hardened, but there was a flicker of something else. A tiny thread of hesitation. Yes, if they don't comply, we won't give them a second chance. This will be their only opportunity. The Emperor knew full well that this might be a waste of time. But something about the humans gnawed at him. There was a strength in them, something primal, something more than just their weapons. There was something else lurking beneath the surface, something that felt dangerous. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Carter stood before the ancient artifact, watching as it pulsed faintly with energy. Her fingers hovered above the holographic interface, contemplating the vast implications of what she had uncovered. Earth had been prepared for many things, but this was something no one had expected. The artifact was more than just a key to weapons or advanced technology. It was a living force, an energy source beyond understanding, an energy that could change the fate of the entire galaxy. Are you sure about this? Colonel Blackwood's voice broke through her thoughts, his face shadowed with concern. We're not just unlocking an alien weapon, are we? What if we unleash something we can't control? Dr. Carter turned to him, her face grave. The Empire won't understand this, she said, her voice thick with conviction. They think they can crush Earth with their superior technology and fleets. But they're wrong. What we have here isn't just a weapon. It's a living force, an ancient one. The artifact is part of a system that connects to the fabric of the universe itself. It's not something they'll be able to stop. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. We don't have a choice. The Empire is coming. And when they land, when they try to take Earth, they'll be in for a surprise. The artifact will defend Earth, but it won't just stop at defense. It'll do far more than that. Blackwood stepped closer, looking down at the artifact with a mix of awe and fear. How do you know it will work? I don't, Carter admitted quietly. But we've come too far. The artifact is alive, and it will act. The question is whether we can control it, or whether it will control us. As the minutes ticked away, the tension grew unbearable. Earth's government had received the Emperor's message, one final chance to surrender. But the response was immediate and clear. Earth would not bow to any empire. The humans had made their decision. The Emperor's cold gaze turned back to the holographic map, where Earth's defenses were starting to mobilize. They've chosen, he said, almost with a hint of satisfaction. Prepare for the invasion. We take Earth now. As his command rang out, The Emperor's mind once again returned to the human morning. Earth is no longer up for grabs. His gut told him the humans were hiding something. But what could it be? The humans had no fleet, no grand army, no weapons capable of standing against the might of the Empire. Or so he thought. Back on Earth, the countdown had begun. The moment the Empire's fleet moved, the artifact would activate, and the war would begin. Dr. Carter and her team had prepared as much as they could. They had gathered all the data, all the knowledge, but no one could predict the consequences of unleashing the artifact's full power. Would it defend Earth, or would it destroy everything in its path, including the humans who had uncovered it? The soldiers stood ready, their weapons poised and their faces grim. Earth's military forces, though dwarfed by the Empire's fleet, had one advantage: knowledge. They understood that the fight wasn't just about winning, it was about surviving. And if the humans were to survive this, they had to do more than just fight. They had to unlock the full potential of the artifact before it was too late. As the fleet in orbit above Earth began to mobilize, the human forces below readied themselves for the most difficult battle of their existence. The humans knew they couldn't hold back. The Empire wouldn't stop until Earth was reduced to nothing. But what they didn't know was that the artifact had a mind of its own. And once it activated, it wouldn't just defend Earth, it would change everything. At that very moment, Dr. Carter, standing in front of the artifact, pressed a single button. The chamber around her hummed with power, and the artifact flared to life, sending a pulse of energy so intense that it reverberated through the entire planet. Earth had made its decision. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. In the distance, the Emperor's fleet moved closer, unaware of what awaited them. Earth was no longer just a planet to conquer. It was a force to be reckoned with. And as the artifact's energy rippled through the planet's atmosphere, a single message echoed in the cosmos: Earth will never fall. The Empire was about to discover that the humans were not the weak, defenseless species they had once believed them to be.